All right. So one of the other things I had this week too, and it falls directly into Alabama. As long as we're talking about crossovers from digital into the real world, uh, ransomware actually taking hospitals down to the point of they can't provide patient services. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
happened last week. I don't want to say necessarily just in your area, but it's reported out of the Tuscaloosa area that a couple of different hospitals were just completely down, um, which is crazy. But I guess I mean that's a real impact of something which is
yeah. I mean that, and
not super sophisticated, right? We're
yeah.
talking a little bit of spreading and a little encryption, and and all of a sudden people can't get health care.
Well, worse than that, what if it's tied to your breathing machine?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like straight up,
Yeah.
boom,
Yeah.
you've got 3 or 4 minutes there. You know?
And what I'd seen from some of the hospitals is they were reporting that, you know, with the exception of emergency services,
Yeah, I saw that.
um,
I saw that.
they basically weren't taking on any new patients and things like this until they had it sorted out. But you're right. If you have a loved one or you're a patient in one of those hospitals at that time, all those systems being tied together. I mean, I assume they do exactly like the stock market or anybody else that's the
Hmm.
industry's been around forever. When they're hit with a cyber attack, which is they doctors and nurses go right back to the old school way of doing it, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I wonder if CISO is going to get fired for that, or if maybe they're gonna, maybe the issue wasn't necessarily all technical. It was because maybe they were not given the authority to do their job. I mean, you see that
Right.
all the time where it's like, especially in healthcare, where it's like the doctors are running the show, and they're saying, "Oh, I want this tech, I want this, I don't want to be impeded, I don't want any complications," and then security goes out the door just because everybody wants to make sure those guys are happy because they're bringing in the bucks.
Right.
Meanwhile, what happened to ingress egress filtering? What happened to that two-factor authentication? What happened to segmentation? Like it just walked out the door because they want to make sure everything's got connectivity everywhere and it's as easy as possible, but it's also as easy as possible for that lateral movement and just
Yeah.
ransomware and the crap out of stuff. And I,
Well, and as,
you know,
as you know from having worked in that space, there's also those extra layers there, like FDA approved equipment, uh, you
yeah,
know, multi-million dollar, MRI machines and things like this that you don't exactly put your security endpoint on the controller for that equipment.
well,
You,
yeah. I mean, you can't really put security on those things all the time, but you can put security around it. I mean, I remember when we were allowed to take 6 months and reverse an EMR EHR system, and like the amount of vulnerabilities there across every possible vulnerability class was just amazing. I mean, you had buffer overflows, you had heap overflows, you had SQL injection, you had decryption of passwords in memory, you had data at rest vulnerabilities, you had SOAP vulnerabilities, I mean, like any way data was accessed, there was always a problem. And luckily we were able to like introduce security around all that vulnerability and really kind of map out the unknown unknowns. But not many people are doing that, nor are they trying to put security around all those vulnerable points. I mean, I think that was probably the most progressive CISO we've seen.